Got PAs are not here. We were waiting for you. Share the invoice paper. No. Data marketing. I think new data science may post it. That's all right. So guys, this will be a hands-on tutorial. We will walk you through Metabase. I'm sure a lot of your experts here. So Mesh is here. That is all. Vinay is traveling. So I have a presentation and all that I made up. It's going to be support material only, but most of the time I'll be spending on Metabase. I'll show you how you operate all the components of Metabase and things which you can do with Metabase, which you probably have not explored so far. All right. Yeah. So I have a lot of stuff to cover. So I'll probably split it up into 2 days, so today and tomorrow. Let's start off with foundations of लेट हो गए तुम Soumya, we'll have a lot of people joining online. Just allow them to enter, okay?
Yeah.
All right. So we'll start with some foundations. I'll not take a lot of time there. It's going to be just brief introduction about data warehouse.
Tahir, hello.
Yes, Soumya.
You're not audible.
My microphone is on, right?
Your microphone is, I mean, you are far away from the laptop.
Yeah. I'll sit here. That's all I have. This microphone is very feeble. That person is probably weak. You must follow. Take care. I think you can get chairs from outside if you want. All right. Especially you, Sajid. You might be too heavy for that. Okay. So I'll start off with some foundations, basics of data warehousing and all. I'll not take a lot of time there, maybe a couple of minutes. Then we'll head on straight onto Metabase. Start with some basic visualizations, reporting, dashboards, and all that. How do we do collaborations, sharings, collections, which probably most of you would already know, but I'll get into details and let you know what extra we could do with Metabase. So I'll probably cover section 1, 2, 3, 4 today, and 5, 6, 7, which are slightly advanced, where you have models, views, permission control, integration with dashboards and all, and best query practices, etc. in tomorrow's session. If I have time, I'll maybe cover section 5 and 6 today as well. All right. Soumya, now the audio should be better, right?
Yeah, it is better.
Okay. So heading on to foundations, I need not talk about the importance of data or anything audience like this, but just to get things warmed up, I'll put out a few things. All modern businesses are technology driven, and when you say technology driven, businesses run via softwares and apps. Your customers interact with you via clicks, views, buttons, dashboards, apps, etc. Now, what this brings is you do not get visibility into your business without looking into data. Yesterday, we did 1.5 lakh interactions probably. We don't see 1.5 lakh interactions, 1.5 lakh users staying around the office, unlike maybe 50 years back when we had brick and mortar businesses. So people interact with us via apps. And if you need to strategize the growth of your business, How do we optimize the cost? How do we increase the revenue? How do we bring in more users? All this is driven by data. So imagine this, like your customers do business with you because you deliver a value proposition. You They need something from you, and we get to know about what they need from you by looking at data. So if you walk around the floor, you'll see, I mean, most of you, your daily routine is mostly looking into numbers, measuring what you have made, and tracking things which you have made so far, and also strategizing for future business improvements. So you are essentially working with data day in and day out. Now, what this does is teaching assistant is here. So what this does is data sort of becomes a first class citizen within the organization. I mean, you can think of it this way. For yes, Dikshant. जी हाँ recorded है yeah okay. So data sort of becomes first class citizen within the organization. So all organizers that flourish in terms of strategy, insights, and everything are those where you have a great analytic experience. So you can think of a successful data engineering practice within an organization is one where we have a great analytic experience within the entire organization. I mean, we internally are users and consumers of data. How well you can consume, make reports, that will drive your growth forward. So that's why we have Starship. So if you ask me, we think of Starship as a analytic experience platform. I mean, it's not where you can just go ahead and make your life harder. It's to make your life easier. Now, data warehousing is standard practice across industry. People usually use enterprise tools like BigQuery, Athena, right? AWS, well, Athena, and on top of things like Power BI, Tableau, and all. If you guys have been into other organizations before, you must have used one of these. So it's a standard practice. We mostly use open source. I'm not going to go into details of that. I'm not going to go to details of our pipelines or anything. But we mostly use open source. Our stack looks mostly similar to the ones which is used in Uber. I think Ola also uses it. And one of the largest promoters of our stack is TikTok. TikTok uses um, something like the stack which we use. So it's fully built on open source. And a lot of consumers exist on this warehouse. I mean, you organize your data in a warehouse, and then you have all your BI interfaces on it. Your data science team works with it. You can write real-time use cases with it. And as we grow, we will have use cases where we will need to do large-scale ETL jobs, which will work on this. So Starship is built with all that objectives in mind. So right now, if we are working with 100 terabytes of data, probably we will have 1 petabytes of data soon, and that should be handleable by a Starship. Now, to talk about scale, what we do in Starship initially started with Facebook. I mean, if you have heard of Trino, Presta, and all people who have worked with our execution engines, is something which came out of Facebook, and Facebook uses it at servers of 5,000 plus nodes. We use it at 6, 8 nodes. So it's scalable horizontally and vertically the way we want to the amount of data we want. All right. So how it works is we essentially have data pipelines. So all of you product managers, you must have built products, and all of them work on databases. So we have software guys also here. Your application works with databases. So these are basically application databases where you have single point queries, APIs, and all written, which helps you retrieve data for application use cases. But that's not typically how analytics use cases look like. You want to cut, merge, filter, summarize, and work on top of data to make reports, dashboards, trends, etc. Right. So we have pipelines which move data from application databases, do some extra transformations, and move them to a data warehouse, a storage system, where we store the data in distributed fashion for fault tolerance. And on top of that, we have execution engines where your queries run. And these execution engines should be scalable to the amount of data we want. Our storage, as we increase, we should be able to scale the execution engine. And the problem with using application databases directly is usually you don't index your application DBs for analytics use cases. You do it for your application. For analytics, you don't really worry about indexes. You probably do sharding and all, but not proper indexing. You want to summarize, filter data the way you want. That's all very technical. I'm not going into that. So you have execution engine, and then you have a BI layer, which is Metabase. So that's where you talk to data. Okay, so that will be the point discussion today. So before going into that, let me just quickly talk about Metabase also. Why did we adopt Metabase? So Metabase is open source reporting tool. It has a broad spectrum of connectors. Now, if you want to know about alternatives of Metabase, there is Looker from Google directly. I mean, Google acquired them for $2 billion recently. It's very expensive and it's not open source, completely commercial. If you have tried their UX, it sucks. It's not very great, but it's very expensive. I mean, probably 7-8 times what Metabase would cost us. And then we have Power BI, which some of you might have used in your previous organizations. Then we have Tableau and all. Metabase has an amazing UX. People who use it will know. And it's open source. Let's say you want to customize something. We are using a commercial license, but still the software is open source. I want to do some sort of customization. I can do that by tweaking the code and creating a build. And then we have a large amount of features. Okay, and they have a very good community also, both open source as well as their own promoter community, where they keep releasing stuff. All right, so I'll head on to Metabase. I'll speak about all of these features, the UX and all which we have. By doing a hands-on. Take care. All right. So we have Google SSO enabled. So organizations, I mean, within organization, anybody can log into Metabase. So that doesn't mean you will have permission to access anything. It's controlled via groups and access control. We'll talk about that later, maybe tomorrow, about permission. Metabase gives us very fine-tuned permission control. So we are using a paid version to have advanced permission control. Otherwise, most of the features that you use in Metabase day in and day out are free and open source. You can just download from GitHub and then deploy your Metabase instance if you don't want to have permission control and all that. All right. So this is the landing screen of Metabase, the home page of Metabase. So there is confusion. Usually people call Metabase to be Starship. I mean, Starship is our entire data warehouse where we host our data and everything. That's what we call it. And Metabase is just a BI which we put on top of it. So I'll be referring to this as Metabase, and probably you guys are more comfortable with Starship term. So this is Metabase. This is the home screen of Metabase. This is a recent update. Probably some of you are more comfortable with the previous version, right? So where you have data and all on the screen. So you see on your left panel all the collections which are there. So I'll talk about collections, subcollections, and all later. And then you have a browse data section in the bottom where you can see the recent collections that you have worked on. Pick where you have left off. All that here. It is user wise. Like if you have logged in with a different account, it shows you the ones which you have recently worked on. There is a search interface where you can search for questions, reports, tables, and everything. I'll start with browse data. So browse data is where you see your data. And you might be seeing a lot more than what you usually see. So these are basically connections. So like I told you, you want to grab chair? Yeah, you can connect remotely. So I told you Metabase has a large number of connectors. You can probably connect your MySQL instance or your BigQuery instance via Metabase. So we do a lot of experiments. So that's why you see a lot of versions here. Most of you would be probably working with V2. This is our production. We have V4 also currently being worked on, but that's not relevant for it. These are experiments which we conduct. Okay, so you'll be probably working with V2. So this is called a connection. Okay, so this is a connection to a particular Starship server. You can think of that way. Okay, under that you have databases. You can see here we have databases. So this is our connection. We have databases. Let's say I click on admin hot. Then you see tables. So you should maintain, you should remember this while you communicate. This glossary of terms are important, like connection, database, and tables. So we are at the tables interface. A few tables are here. We will have around 1500 tables altogether in Starship. So it's important that you know where what data is. So that's why before I go on to data, I'll show you a few things which you might have not seen before. So this is call dispose. I'm sure most of you would have worked with call dispose. There are other 1500 tables also, which many of you have not worked with. But when new people join, you might probably want to tell them what this table means and all. And this is something which industry follows called data cataloging. I mean, they create a data catalog so that people can refer to what table contains what data in what form. So you could actually do that in Metabase. It's just that it's not popular. You can see a learn about this table section. Okay, click on that. You see a description about the table. So this is something which I have written. I would recommend if you are working with.
This meeting is being recorded.
All right. So you could give description why it's interesting. I mean, few things to be aware of this table. Let's say you want to talk about what disposition means, what first dispose means, second dispose means, etc. Or let's say RM lead event table where you contain various lead flows, and people would want you would want to educate people about what these lead flows are typically. All that you can put here, and not just that. Let's say you want to talk about fields in this table, like I was telling you. Let's say I want people to know about what campaign name means, what disposition means, what first dispose means, second dispose names, etc. I can just add descriptions here. Okay, and then hold on. So let's say I want to talk about disposition. I can add a description here about that table. I'll be able to also see unique values of disposed names, etc. Right. Yeah. And then I can also see the questions, data types. What are these data? There is a timestamp. I can edit this also. I can change this to probably, let's say, agent talk time second to a number, or creation timestamp to something else. I can change this here. Then we have questions about this table. So there will be a lot of questions on call dispose. You'll be able to see all of that here. This might take time because we have a lot of questions there. Okay, let's not do that. Yeah. Looking at call dispose. Now I'll go back to browse data. Now broker V2, we were looking at call dispose. So this is our browse data section where we will be able to look at the data at once. What does call dispose contain? We have supplementary information about the details of this table. You can see it in the learn about this data section. And this side panel I can hide also. I mean, this might be a little painful. And one feature which you might not be using, this sometimes the number of rows are too high. And then we have a section called view details. This helps you view the documents document by document. And then you can traverse through it also using these arrows one by one. All right. And we have a few sections here. I'll walk through that. So these connections, database tables, and then we have rows, columns. This is how it's organized. This is standard way of organizing all data warehouses where you have tables and databases. All right. So you can see a few things here. Every column which you have, you can let me start with filter. So filter, summarize. These are standard operations which you do during analytics. You cut the data and then you bucket and then you count. Right. So this is typically which you see in any reporting tool. I'm sure most of you would have come from Kibana background. Right. There you have the same thing. Filter, summarize. This is basically where the discover section where we are looking at the data. Right. And then you have filters which you put on the Kibana top URL. We have something like that here, and we have summarize, which we do in the visualization section in Kibana separately. We have other sections like notebook editor and all, which we'll come to. So let me start with filter. Okay, let's say I want to look at last week calls. Okay, so start stamp. It also gives suggestions like what are the various input fields. For example, I want to look only at RM campaign and RM sales. I can select them. I can apply filters. So this will help me cut the data into a smaller subset. Now, some of you would have noticed key you would want to see all the input options in a particular list, but you're not able to see it sometimes. I mean, I saw here campaign name, I was able to choose. Sometimes you're not able to choose that. That's because you would have probably not set the type of the column properly. So free text inputs are not searchable. I mean, you can search, but if you want to select as a drop down, you should define this as a category. So this I'll come to later when we talk about setting models. It's like essentially you're setting in Kibana, if you have worked, it's like setting mappings. So you need to set types also. Usually Metabase try to infer the type and store the category, I mean, store the data type, but sometimes doesn't happen. That's when you don't see the drop down. I think Nikita has come to me a couple of times saying I'm not able to see the drop down. That's the reason. So that's the filter section. It's a lot user friendly. You can search also. If you have a lot of filters, you can search for a specific filter. Let's say I want to see mode of calling and I can select inbound. All right. Now there is a summarize section, which, as you know, is you can summarize by, let's say I want to look at the daily number of calls happening and done. So this is the trend line of inbound calls from 2 campaigns in the previous week. All right. Now, this you might have observed one thing. I did just a count, and this is the result I am supposed to get, but Metabase automatically created a visualization for me. This is a type of visualization which probably fits in this kind of a graph by automatically putting date on the x-axis and count on the y-axis. Now I can change this visualization type. Let's say I want to do it in the form of a bar graph. I can do that. And then I have trend visualizations where I can say, okay, what is the trend going on? All that options I have. I'll come to this section a little later. I would want to talk about a few more things also. You can apply all these filters from the browse data interface itself. You may not use the filter section. Remove the summarize. Yeah. See, I could probably use these filters as well. This post name is free text, probably campaign name, filter by this column, buyer, CPMS sales, add filter. So this is present. You could do, let's say you want to learn about some column. I would want to know what are the different call types. I can do a distinct values or a distribution. It will tell me what are the various different types of dispositions present in a particular selection. All that can be done directly via the browse data interface itself. Now let me come to something. Yeah. Summarize section. Time is automatically figured out, and then you can group by multiple times, multiple filters also. Like in Kibana, you have multiple terms. I get bucket term, add one by one. Similarly, you can have multiple aggregation. Let's say I want to see day wise, campaign wise number of calls, and then I can choose a graph. This is not a good graph. Let me filter by active days. Okay. Now visualizes, this is a default bar graph which they have given. Okay, I could change this by bar graph setting options are there. So here you can see campaign name came on the x-axis. Instead, I want the start stamp and then the campaign name. And then I have further settings also. And these settings are specific to each visualization. I would say you go out and explore each of them one by one. Let's say this is one of my favorite. You can stack them and stack them with percentages. And you can see most of the calls, around 11% of the calls happen from RM sales department with the given filters which I have put. And then we have various different types of graphs also, like you have combo options, area option. Depending on the type of data, Metabase will enable and disable a few options for you. Let me come to that. Before that, I will cover a few more things. Yeah. Yes. So let me save a visualization. Let me store this as a table. I'll save this visualization. created a collection called tutorial. Save it here. You can, it's a good idea to give descriptions if you are particularly dealing with a complex report and it's difficult for anybody other than you to figure out what this report means, then you should give descriptions. Okay. Now, after I save the question, actually there is something called question number. So this is very important. So 5471. This is what you typically use to communicate your questions to others. And also there are certain things like collections, sub-collections and all, which I'll come to later. So this question number is kind of the report identifier. And I mean, if you have the question number, you can go to it. Like, it's not necessary that you have this entire URL. You can just use this and it will automatically take me to that particular. Okay, this is, I think this most of you would be already aware of. Now I'll come to one important section. So I have never gone to any of the editor or any of the section to create this report for me. I did this using the browse data interface. Like, you have looked at the table and you picked a few things from the table and you created a report. Now, it's not always possible that you can make reports like this. You might want to join, you might want to bring in other data sources, etc., into your current visualization. Now, otherwise, what happens is your developer, usually we struggle with this when we had Kibana. I mean, your developer will have to make sure all the fields that you want to filter and summarize on is present in a single index. I mean, let's say you want to see the incoming calls from broker, one example. Okay, then you should probably have user is broker or equal to true or false in the call dispose index itself in Kibana, where the developer will have to put an effort and bring it when the data is already present in a different table, which tells you whether the user is broker or not. So that's one of the capabilities which all warehousing data warehouses should typically have. About joining multiple data sources together. So that's where, so this, I spoke about filter, summarize, which is about working with single tables. And then you have an editor. So this is what we probably, all of you would have used it as notebook editor. Okay, this is a glossary which you should remember. This is what we call notebook editor. In notebook editor, we can create custom reports which are using multiple tables at once. Okay, so this is this you can accomplish using SQL also, but people who are not very comfortable with SQL, there is not going to be any tutorial on SQL today, but people who are not comfortable with SQL, this comes in very handy. And Metabase is releasing features at a pace you could do most of the things doing in SQL on notebook editor. It's sometimes buggy. I mean, advanced features like creating custom columns, custom filters and all sometimes is buggy, but Metabase is fixing them one by one each of their patch releases. Okay, but a lot of features, people who have been using Starship Metabase since long time, you would have seen key on the notebook editor, we are able to see more and more features coming. All right, so let's say, let me take the use case which I just discussed. I want to get incoming calls from brokers. Okay, so what I would do is I would join this table with user table. And I would say phone number. Now, few things which the data engineering team has made an effort on is to standardize different tables. Like phone number is sensitive information, which we don't want the users to see. I mean, we had that on Kibana, but phone number is something which we want as an identifier of the user to join across multiple tables. For example, call dispose you may not have user ID all the time, or lead table, you may not have user ID all the time. You want to use phone number. So what there is a standard data standardization technique where you hash the phone number after doing a standardization, like +9191, all that is taken care. So you can join using phone number across Starship without revealing anything about the user. So I'll be joining using phone number from call dispose and phone number from user. Yes, it would. But you cannot, so we have multiple Metabase instances. We have one in NoBroker, we have one in Hood, we have one in Checkout, we have one in Uniview. What else do we have? Yeah. So 4 different Metabase instances. I mean, actually 4 different Starship altogether. You want to see here? 4 different Starship instances, which do not share network data or anything between each of them for certain reasons. I mean, you cannot join Hood and NoBroker, for example, or Checkout and NoBroker, for example. All right. So I was talking about You can do inner join, left join, right join, and all. People who are comfortable with SQL will know the semantics. Broker calls, right? So I take last 7 days calls from user. So yeah. No. So what for the is we have created pipelines which will replicate HS data from no broker to hood. I mean, you have a table which looks like HS table in no broker, the same thing in hood also. Yeah, correct. Right. So broker equal to true. And let's say I would want to look at the count. So this will give me all the calls from brokers. So this you can see there are other expressions also you can see here. These are the calls from brokers. This is probably because of some line graph. So there's a dip. And yeah, so there are other options which you might have seen here. So when I'm creating the report, especially Dolly might be able to vouch, when you create complex reports with a lot of joins and all, you might want to see how the data looks at various stages. So for that, you have these preview buttons across each of the selections. After join, how does your data look like? You see here. Now, one problem is some of you while creating joins, you select columns from all the underlying, like for example, I the table to have broker, nothing else. So in that case, there is an option where I can, select the columns which I want rather than bringing all the columns. So underlying Starship is sort of a storage system where your query performance also depends on the number of columns you query. I mean, sort of hybrid storage, not just rows. If you have more columns, then you probably are querying bigger size of data, which would mean bigger network latency also, along with bigger execution cost also. So it's a good practice. You choose only the columns that you require in the query. All right. So you saw I just chose the broker column and the query was very fast. Right. And I put broker equal to true, and I can preview these things step by step. And I might need columns also. For example, I might want to do something like what can I get? Yeah, let's say I want to agent talk time second, which is in seconds. I would want to change it to hours. Or let's say I want to do something like start stamp minus user creation date. That is like age on the platform since he has called. I could give it a name like age on the platform. This will work, Dolly. There is a bug which he reported to Metabase about custom expressions not working, but I think they have fixed it. It's working. Yeah, it's working. Okay, so this will tell you 20 days. This user is live on the platform 20 days, 5 days, 44 days. So you can create custom columns also. And while creating filters also, you could create custom expressions. So there are lots of custom expressions which you have. I will not go through it right now, but I'll share a link for all the custom expressions possible. Like if you have used Kibana count if functions and all, count if user is broker. I'm not aware of the syntax also exactly, but a lot of such functions are there, which you can use here for creating custom filters as well as custom summaries. Like, so custom expression for custom summaries also, like number of distinct values of capitalized cities, for example. All that you can do. Yeah. So for that, we have even more advanced features which we call data models and views. You can see it. I'll come to that later. Okay. But you can create use custom columns also. Metabase has given a few set of standard ones. You can use that. If you want anything above that, right, then you will have to probably switch to SQL. Okay, so using SQL, you can create something called models. Okay, I'll come to that. Models is a feature which I'm sure nobody would have used, but they released from 1.4. Okay, did you use Dolly models? Okay, so you can create new tables out of existing tables and then use that as your tables. Yeah, so it's like saved questions. Correct. Yeah, but saved questions are different because saved questions may every time the query runs. But here in models, you can actually ask Metabase to cache it and then use that for, let's say, I want to use this as in the cache Metash for 15 minutes or 1 hour, and then don't run that query. I mean, use that report to make other reports. I'll come to that probably tomorrow. That's advanced section. Okay, so this is about notebook editor, what all you can do in notebook editor. There are infinite possibilities here. As you get comfortable with Metabase, you will know the power of it. And also after you have done the count, let's say here it is about number of calls happening per day, inbound calls coming from brokers. I would want to probably filter something like, let's say I don't want count less than 100. This is not a valid use case here, but you can do all sorts of stuff like that. You can create custom columns on top of resulting columns. Like, for example, you want to divide count by some other, let's say you have count as well as distinct number of users. You want to get the number of calls per user. You can do that using custom columns here. Okay. Any questions here?
I had a question for everyone.
It's only for me specifically. So for that, you need this model, what I'm talking about, where you create a custom column and then derive a table out of it. So that then it becomes a model which everybody can use. You can control model for this. All right. So let me just show a few more things from this section only. So this is a line graph. Now, let's say I change this to table. Now, I would probably want to customize stuff. Let me add one more level of summary here. Make this simpler. I can customize column names. For example, let's say I'm not pivoting this table. This is a pivot table. So I would want to, let's say, change the start stamp day to something else. So I have a section. So every visualization has their own settings. Okay. So I initially started off with a line graph, right? So I'll show you the settings of line graph. So this is a line graph of number of calls. If you click on line graph, then you can see various settings. I can even change the, I mean, I can do, I can even change the name of it. So a name change option comes in access probably, but display may I can set up, I'll come to gold line later, trend line I'll come to later. Show values on data points. I can smoothen the graph, for example. I can show dots on lines. I can switch it off. That it's not there. I can do some manipulation if it is data is not there. All that is present. Along with that, I have a value formatting also, like compact, full. I mean, it's automatically abbreviates and all 362K. And I can do stuff with my axis and my labels. All right. So every visualization has its own kind of stuff. I'll show you one more interesting thing. There is something called pivot table. It's experimental. So it's something which came in the, I mean, version before this version. So it's not very robust. It's sometimes slow and it gives a lot of errors, but it's a very nice feature. I think to see this, we will have to add one more grouping. So some of you, what I've seen is they make a mistake of selecting instead of adding. So they select this and their grouping goes. So what you should do is actually you select one, and then after that you add a grouping instead of just clicking on it. All right, so this is a pivot table where you could add columns in pivot and all, and then customize your pivot. It's slow and it's buggy sometimes. So I'm using it, but I think Uniview, Flip Spaces and all, you guys are using it extensively, where the data size is small, so it's working well. So you can see here. So you have subtotals and all. The more levels of group by you add, you'll be able to see more level of subtotals and everything. So one more interesting thing is, let me put a filter on date also. So let me pivot this table in this way. This is not pivot actually. This is some sort of a transpose of, I mean, you can just change a few rows to columns. And then what you can do is you can actually do conditional formatting. So conditional formatting is, let's say you have a table like this and I want to give a custom color or something based on certain values. Let's say count is less than 0. Then I change it to or less than 100. Then these are probably segments which I want to look at more closely. So then you change it to 100. Now the reason for me to show this was to show you something more important, which is drill down. Okay, let's say I have a report like this where certain things are red. Right now, I want to see what is happening here. Let's say Ambassador Club, October 2, only small number of calls are there. Okay, I click on this. I can actually view these call disposes and then see what's going on here at a overall table level. Okay, but rather than that, you can see Tawfiq Sheikh and said some Parminder call, 2 different calls are there. Sorry. Yeah, no. Anyway, that's not I wanted to what I wanted to show you. Something like zoom in is there. Now this actually shows you something interesting. Because the line was otherwise reports automatically shown. I mean, we have linear interpreter, that's why it took a turn. So for example, let's say painting wala, sorry, cleaning. Cleaning may in a particular day you are seeing a dip. What you can essentially do is click on zoom in and then it automatically creates a summary for you in such a way that you can drill down. Now, this is based on time. Let's say you want to do it device wise also. You can actually go here and add an extra level of summary for that particular day, for that particular group. Let's say this was cleaning leads created per device or per source. And then you saw on a dip on a particular day. You click on that, you zoom in, and then you can actually see in which device at what time dip happened. Okay, so this is drill down feature. This I just showed you a demo with respect to a table graph. It is there on line graph also. You can see here. When I click on this, I can zoom in. I can break out by category also. Like this particular, I want to break out by mode of calling. Sometimes Metabase messes up with the kind of like this. So you can see 4 inbound calls and 23 manual calls are there. Probably this is not a use case where you want to see it exactly. But you might be remembering and be thinking yourself in your mind, where all you can apply these things. Tell me, you're asking something.
In the line chart, you do a spread series.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of times the number of within which you can create the same like parameters are very high.
Correct.
But a lot of time we just need the top 3 or 4 parameters to see that. So for example, my contacts have gone down. I want to see what are the activities for the people gone down.
Okay.
Now in Kibana, when I am actually doing that spreadsheet, it gives an option of how many maximum
Correct.
number of fields we want to see.
Got
It
it.
becomes easier there.
Got it.
Now, if I want to see a line chart and I want to just see the top 5 contributors.
Understood. Yeah, that is possible. So if you have, if you remember my summary section, right? I mean, when I after summarize, I can actually put a filter on count. Okay, and there is a limit also. Like you can sort first on, let's say, count, and then after that you can put a limit here, like 100. I want to see the first 100 values. So this is possible straight away from the UI also. Let me show you that. इसको हटा देता हूँ. Let me filter by campaign. Sorry, summarize by campaign name. Then I'll be able to show you this. So you see a lot of campaigns. You might don't want to see all of this. You want to see a few of them, right? You can click on count and filter by this column as well. This is one way. There is a way you can limit also. Limit, I think you'll have to go to notebook editor, but you can say key filter by this column, count greater than 100. I only want to see greater than 100. Why is this not working? I think this is a better option. Count greater than. All right. Okay. I missed one thing actually. Let me go back to that. So when we were doing browse data, we were looking at the table raw form. We did not make any reports. So a lot of you might not be aware. For example, I can see start stamp here first. Okay, it's possible to adjust in the data model, but still I'll show you. I probably want to see CDR ID first. So I can just drag it here. Okay, and let's say I don't want to see third dispose vagara, which you can do in the notebook editor also, but you can do it straight away here as well. And then just do play. Okay, it will change the order. And you can do the same thing actually here also. You can drag it this way. Okay. This is some feature which many of you would not be aware. I have seen people, scrolling and then looking for columns and all. You can just go to settings section and then you can increase the priority and decrease the priority. You can actually customize this also. This is some very nice feature which I'll show you. Okay, so this is CDR ID. Okay. Now let's say I want to convert it to a link. Now what I'll do with link is, take this. So I'll copy a link which I want to target to. This is an external link. Shit, yeah. Let's CDR ID. Done. So once I do this, I can actually go to, let's say, there's a particular call where I want to listen to the transcript of this. Okay. So I can just click on this and it will take me to a URL corresponding to that call. Okay. This is a nice feature which many of you would not have used. So you can create links out of questions. You can even customize this. Let's say I don't want to call it CDR ID. I don't like the word start stamp. I want to call it call time, call date, for example. I can do that as well. And I can change the same thing, link, etc. Link text I can, if you want to, you can change. All that is possible here.
This change happens like for everyone then.
No, no. Yeah, only so this essentially becomes a question then. Okay. So if you want to do all of that, then this is models, which I'll come to tomorrow probably. A conditional formatting is there where, let's say, agent talk time less than, which I showed you already, right? Agent talk time is equal to 0, then I want to highlight it as red. All that is possible here. So you can create various different types of reports, dashboards, questions, or views about a particular table. Call dispose may let's say you want to monitor agents who are doing more than, let's say, 15 minutes talk time. You can create conditional formatting, and then probably you can create links from there itself, which will take you to call. You can view the transcripts. Or let's say high silence. There are tables which tells you calls where high silence happen, which is actually a PIA use case. There's a table in Starship which tells you what are the calls where a lot of silence is happening in the call. Probably agent is trying to increase the talk time. So you can create a report. PIA clicks on that link, goes to Maya, look at the transcript. Same thing, I think recently there was a use case with Varun, right? You wanted to agree the disposition with. So we have tables in Starship which tell you if the customer has told you, don't call me again, but the agent has marked a disposition, call back. You can create a report where position disagrees, and then somebody can click on that link and then see what is the actual transcript going on in that. All such use cases you can accomplish with these links and conditional formatting. I don't think many of you would have used this, right? All right. So that's about browse data and visualization section. There are lots of visualizations which are very good. Math visualizations are there, pivot table is there, gauge is there. I will not be able to cover all of them. Trend graphs are there, waterfall graphs are also there, but everything has their own settings, and Metabase has put a lot of effort in making them, very aesthetically as well as functionally very good. So you can explore them one by one. There is one graph, funnel graph, which is actually very good. For example, of the total number of notifications received, you want to see, I'll make a dummy graph just to show you the aesthetics of the graph, but I'll not be able to create an exact report very quickly. Mode of calling, probably. So funnels. So this is a bad funnel, but let's say total number of notifications you sent, how many of them were opened, how many of them were rejected, and how many of them were clicked, something like that. You definitely have use cases like this. I remember of the total number of let out happened activations happened, we made a report like that. So you'll be able to create reports like that using funnels. It's a very nice graph for especially PMs where you track funnels. Okay, funnel options are also there. You can explore the. अरे इधर आ जाओ जी, तुझे क्या है? 4 बज गया क्या? Shit, yeah. So Sajid, you're asking something? Yeah, you will have to make your report like that. I mean, your one column should mention ki what is the state. For example, notification sent, how many are there? Then notification opened, how many are there? Once you have a report like that, you will probably have to use SQL or something to create a report like that. Once you have done that, then you can make the funnel easy. Correct. Yeah.
The same field.
Exactly. So you will need the transition data, like lead event data, notification events data, something of that sort. Yes. Union. For notification, you can actually create a report, total number of notifications sent. That's the bottom of the funnel, right? Then after that, you can see the total number of notifications opened.
You can take the sum of all the
Correct.
states,
Yes.
even if it's.
Yes, yes. Yeah. Something like a roll up, group by roll up. Okay. So these are the visualization capabilities. I will try to wrap it up quickly. I have few more things also. Let me go back to my PPT. I spoke about simple questions, custom questions, question number. Simple questions are basically questions which you create on the browse data interface. I mean the table interface. Custom questions are you can join multiple. Question number is essentially the number which you get questions. So these are glossaries which you need to remember for questions when you talk to your peers about Starship reports. I spoke about filter, summarize, sort, column editor, which is conditional formatting, joins, filters. I'll come to SQL editor now. I'll not talk about SQL, but I'll tell you what SQL editor does. So we started off with call dispose, and then we created a report on number of calls happening per day. So this was all done using user interface, right? Let's say I want to do some sort of advanced customization here. Then I can go to my notebook editor. There is a section on top right where you say view the SQL. It will tell you, but essentially are all data warehouses, wherever you go, whether it's BigQuery, whether it's Athena, whether it's Snowflake, or whatever data warehouses you work with, usually they work with SQL. So SQL is like the grammar of interfacing with data. I mean, it's like a standard practice across the data community. So even when you're using Metabase, we are talking to Trino or Presto. I mean, when Presto essentially understands SQL only. So Metabase has built that library, I mean, built that conversion, that language of conversion of a particular notebook editor into an SQL. So essentially, whatever you do on Metabase converts to an SQL, which gets executed in Presto. So in order to view that SQL, because SQL is a lot more powerful than notebook editor, you can do a lot more things. I don't know if we had anything which we could not solve with SQL so far for reporting purpose. Okay, so even advanced things like, location targeting, agent distances covered, whether they are in the society, outside the society, things like this we have made. Talk time versus chat response time, which were not ever possible without earlier teams, businesses used to come to data sciences and we used to download this data, run this in Python, and then give these responses. Now all of them are possible via Starship. Now I can convert this. This is the SQL for it. Okay, I can convert this question to SQL. There's one thing which I recommend most of you doing is formatting. Okay, so it makes SQL easy to read. I've seen some complex SQLs which are very hard to read because it's not formatted properly. So this way of formatting, whenever it's saving SQL questions, I would recommend. I think I told you multiple times. Right. So this is a good way. I mean, you could save the questions, and if you want to do advanced customization, let me walk you through one example like that. Not an advanced case, but let's say I want to do something on SQL. Now, this is handy when I know about, especially people, analysts and all who work with data day in and day out. Or let's say your respective product, somebody working with Uniview, or you working with home service then you know about tables inside out, and then you can create advanced visualizations and reports on top of those tables using SQL. But sometimes you don't know what table contains what rows, etc. So SQL becomes difficult to work with, right? Unlike you, when you have a notebook editor where you can see what data is there, put your filters and all there itself. So that's why we have few sections in SQL editor using which you can make your life easier while writing SQL. So let me start with something like that. So I will start with this section, which is learn about your data. Let's say I want to make a report on user table. Okay. Not user. But I guess screen size. So I don't know. So I know about user because I've been living my life with this for a long period of time. But usually, let's say Shashank or Avi may not be knowing about what user table is. There is this learn about this data section where I can actually go to. Somebody tells you ki user data is present in nobrokerhot.user. I can click on nobrokerhot, click on user. It will tell me. So if I had added a description, I showed you how to add descriptions, right? I would actually be able to see what this table contains. And let's say I want things like broker here. If I had a description, I would have known what this is. So I know what are the columns, what are the rows present in this. I might be able to see sample values also. State. Getting distinct values shows me sample values as well. If you wait for a see, it gives you sample values as well if you set the data model correctly. Okay, so let me make a report which pulls out simply select ID, maybe email and phone. Let's say verified by who verified the user from broker.user. Okay. Now, one shortcut which I can will be handy is Control R. If you want to run the entire, which I don't see, I have not seen people using it there, and then click on run query. Control R is a good shortcut. Now, given me, so it already by default shows only 2000 entries. Whatever you run on Metabase, whether it's browse data or SQL, what you see in the result section here is by default 2000 entries. Now you can change that. There is a Metabase setting to change that, but we have kept it to 2000. I think that's a good sample. We were actually thinking of reducing this to 200 or 1000 or something. Okay. Now, writing an SQL like this does not give me a lot of advantage other than making maybe graphs or something which are specific to certain use case. I would want to give things like filters and on top of this, right? Like variables which I can plug into an SQL and get stuff out of. So that's why we have SQL variables, which is a second section here. There's a help section which is sufficient for you to know everything about SQL variables. Okay, but I'll give you a brief idea. Let's say I want to put a filter on. Let me add created. Okay, I just want to know it for yesterday only. So either I could write where creation date is yesterday, etc., etc., or I could have something like this. These are called SQL variables, which Metabase supports. You can see as soon as I put a double quote and comma, they gave me input element here. Now you have to tell Metabase this is a date field in user table which corresponds to creation date. It can be, let's say, user state, which is a string. So it can be text also. So that's why it automatically opens this section where you can tell Metabase that this query ka this filter corresponds to what. So by default it's text. Now I'm going to change the field filter. A field filter is something where you can bind a particular filter to a particular row in a particular column in a particular table. So in this case, it's creation date and user table. Go to no broker hot, select user table, and then creation date. Once I do that, it automatically understands the date filter. Then it asks me what is the widget type. So month and year is something of this sort. Okay, and you have different types of widgets. So I usually choose the date filter, which is easy. Or if you have a typical dashboard kind of use case, then you can use this where you have today, yesterday, past 7 days and all. And you can keep it a mandatory field or not. If it's a mandatory field, you can give a default value as well, like last 7 days, for example. Okay, then I can say, Sorry. Correct. So that you will come to know when you're working advanced, I mean, doing advanced stuff with this. Let's say you call this no broker hot user to be something like user V2. Then these field filters will not work. That you have to be keeping in your mind. Okay. So now you can select also. Let's say I want to do it for yesterday. We'll run for yesterday. Okay. Now that's about variables. There are various different types of ways you can give variables, optional variables, text variables, date variables, etc. Field filters is something which will cover most of this as a union. You can use field filters, or you can, if you have use cases where you want something else, you can go ahead and read here. So more details on this, there is full documentation you can see here. Okay. Now I'll show you one more thing. There's something called SQL snippets. Now, sometimes you write a lot of SQL and then you want to reuse some SQL. So let me show you something like that. Let's say I want to flag all emails which are not belonging to a valid category. For example, case when email like, or let me just put this email like no broker.in. Then agent is user and as user category. This is a case SQL syntax where you are saying if email is like no broker, then it's an agent, otherwise it's a user. This is something which I think you probably do when you want to check whether it's an agent or not. So you see, I've created a conditional column. I mean, conditional column, which we did using notebook editor using SQL. Okay, now this is something I do repeatedly. I don't want to do it every time. What I can do is I can actually select this and then I can say right click and say save as snippet. Okay, so this will create a snippet. I can give a snippet name to be agent conditional column. Okay, I can give a description. I can add to folders. I mean, I'll talk about folders in a while. So let me add this to top folder now. So once I do that, I can actually change this to snippet. Now, let's say I have a couple of more snippets. I think I have a few snippets here. Let's say these are like, so there is an entire folder, these are chakra snippets. You can create folders also, like I can create a folder called Zahir. Okay. And I can save all my snippets there. Now this, you might have probably thought, key, will my snippet be accessible to others? You can control permissions also. You can change permissions. You can say key, only me can access my snippet and all that. Okay. Now I can use my snippet. For example, I think I have a snippet here for verified by. Okay. So this, I can just click on this, it gets added here. And then see. See actor, which I've added using snippet. This will become very handy when you're working with SQL a lot. Now, one more thing is run selection option, which I think you must have seen. Let's say I don't want to put any where condition or anything. I just want to run this selection. I can do that also. Okay. So when you're working with complex SQL with derived SQL and all that, you can use this run selection to see what previews of each of these selections are. Now, tutorial on SQL is begin itself. I'll not go there, but I wanted to show you the functionalities in SQL. Now, I saved this for a different thing in the future. We call this user. Save this in the tutorial section. All right. Now, once you have created a visualization, this is a simple view, subview of a particular table, but the same options which you saw in the other section, settings, visualizations, everything is present here as well in the SQL editor. Okay. Now there are sections called alerts and all, which I'll come to a while. So helpers I've spoken about variables, I've spoken about snippets, right? So various different types of visualization, which I already spoke about. Customizing visualizations I spoke about, setting section. And then let's come to alerts. This is important. I think a lot of you have use cases around this. Start with my browse data and the broker v2 policies. Okay, so let me create the same thing. So this is my, let's say this is something which you are tracking. Let's say Somesh is tracking the number of cleaning leads which are coming per day, or the cleaning bookings which are coming every day. Okay, you create a report like this, and then you save it as number of calls here. You can set up alerts here. So probably you already know about download options, where you can download as CSV, Excel, JSON, and everything. Download is access controlled, so I don't think everybody has download access, and even some of you have download access, but only limited number of rows. Some of you are able to download up to 1,000,000 rows, some of you 10,000 rows, and so forth. Then there is this get alert section. Okay, so you can say, okay, I want to send this report. This is a line graph. Nobody sends a line graph, but let's say you have a report where you have, let's say, cleaning success ratio or something which you want to, or servicing closure, something like that which you want to track. And you can use get alerts, and you can just set up a schedule, hourly, daily, weekly, whatever. A lot of stats mail which go in Hood and all are set up via this. I mean, this dashboard subscription, which I'll come to in a while. But you can set up send individual reports also. Now, these are standard alerts. Now, there are certain things called line-based or rule-based alerts also. This is a line graph, and I have a goal line. Okay, so I'll set up a goal value. Let's say Somesh is targeting 3,000 bookings per day. So in this case, I don't want anything less than 300,000 calls per day. Okay, let me put a filter first. Okay, so I've set a goal line. I don't want anything less than 300,000 calls. This is actually a counter example. I want less than 300,000 calls, but let's say I don't want anything less than 500 bookings per day in cleaning. Now I set up a goal line. I save this. So in order to create alerts, you have to save, and then you can use this alert section to say key. So my goal line was below, like I don't want anything below this. So reaches, so this means goes below the goal line. Then you get an alert. Now Somesh might have an alert like, hey, I need 3,000 bookings. So when I have 3,000 bookings, give me an alert. Or I have an hourly target of 500 bookings. So when it's 500, give me an alert. So reaches the goal line is also there, goes below the goal line is also there. The first time, every time, choose. Now, one limitation is you cannot do really real time. I mean, you can do a maximum of daily, hourly, or weekly. I mean, maximum, finest interval that we can get is hourly. Anything less than that is not possible via Metabase right now. Okay, if you want to do something like that, you should probably resolve to something else like Airflow, Flink, or whatever. Okay. Now, one thing is you have Slack-based alerts also. You can email alerts to existing users of Metabase or Starship, or you can email alerts to other folks like who are, let's say, business news Metabase. But for that, all of this, you will need a higher privilege, which I don't think any of you has here. And then are there, it automatically is connected to our workspace. So you can pick a channel. Say I pick data science. Okay, you can choose data science and set up an alert. So it's just a test report. I'm not creating that. So this is goal line based alerting, which is actually very valuable for some of you who are tracking and setting targets for your product. Okay. What else do I have? Yeah, that's all. Goal line based alerts, email alerts, Slack alerts, and all. I'll talk about advanced type of alerts, which we are using for dashboard subscriptions in Hood. I mean, in stats emails and all, which are currently working in no broker via conventional system, but in Hood via dashboard subscription. I'll come to that. Before I go there, I want to briefly speak about collections. I'll take not more than 5-10 minutes. Okay. All right. Now, collections you might already know. So once you have created a report, you want it to hold. I mean, you want it to be, you have, what was the 5,475? This is actually an number which is incrementing. So in no broker, we have 5,475 reports right now. Okay. Now you need some sort of organization. Like for example, book HS wala business reports are here, product reports are here, marketing reports are here, finance reports are here. Same thing for, let's say, Hood, for data science, for every team has their own collection. Now I can see you, I mean, you guys have messed this space up, but I would recommend you should maintain that sort of a grouping. I mean, because permissions are also controlled like that. You have a group, you have a subgroup, and then you have even further groups. You should maintain that sanity so that it's easy to manage permissions also. Right now, when you have multiple people wanting to access multiple reports, what you guys are doing, I've seen you are creating a clone of that report and saving it in multiple places and all. So that's one way, but ideally you should have a proper organizational structure where you are organizing reports with respect to teams, and then you can control access. So these collections is, for example, I can show you, we have a HS collection. Okay, under that we have HS business reports, we have PM reports, and under HS business reports also there are feeder reports, servicing reports, NPS reports, partner reports, and all that different teams. I know ki there's a servicing team in HS business who has access to these reports only. NPS wala is something else. Partners also, PM reports also the same thing. So these are collections. I'll show you quickly how we make it create collections. So you go to collections, and then let's call it tutorial. There are certain things in collections which you might not have used so far. I'm saving this in our analytics, or let me save this in analytics. You have this official and regular collection. Some of you might be, let's say, HS businessman, you are playing around and making reports. You don't know. I mean, it's like your analysts or your APMs are creating reports which you are not yet ready to give it to business because of some reviews and all. So you can once you have done the review and all, you can probably move it to official. Then it becomes official version of that. Okay, and this collection is empty. I can add reports and all here. There is something called timeline or events. You, for example, you are launching a new feature in HS. Okay, let's say auctions. Okay, you're launching auctions in book HS, and you want to track that in a collection called HS auction reports. And then you have various events in it. For example, on day one you launch the feature, on day two you did this, day three you did this, etc. So you can add events. For example, product launch. This is my launch event, and I can give a star, balloon icon, whatever it is, balloons. Okay. Then I can give a date also when it happened, October 13th, create. Okay. So I'll be able to mark, add an event to a particular report, which I'm making here. I mean, making in this collection. And then I'll be able to track them also. I have not used this feature extensively, or I have not used it at all. So I would want you to explore this also when you are tracking product growth and all via set of events. Then we have bookmark collection also. Let's say I want to bookmark a collection and then see it on the homepage all the time when I'm logging in. That's there. Edit permissions, which I'll talk about later. Move, you can move collection here and there, one collection to different, all that. Archive collection is there. You don't have delete collection option right now, because I remember recently accidentally deleted a collection, and then you can reclaim it. Yeah, archive is there, but archive you can reclaim, but delete option for some reason Metabase has not provided. Okay, so that's about collections. Under collections, you can have sub collection also, like test sub collection, which I think I already spoke about. I'm not going there. So that's it about collections. I'll just cover one more section, which is about permissions. I'll cover later. Talk about dashboards quickly. This will take 5 minutes probably. Drill down I've already spoken about. Then we'll wrap up for tomorrow. Okay. So dashboards. So dashboards are things which you want to reports where you assemble into one place and you track them. Now I'll create a few simple reports so that let me quickly make some questions. Let's start with call dispose only. Port, which is day wise. Save this as daily call volume. Save this in my tutorial. me make the campaign wise distribution. This is campaign wise distribution. Let me just make one more report, which is sum of agent talk time. Okay, so let's not worry about the meaning of the reports. So I just made a few reports. Just one. Such a big number. I'll show you something quick. So this option is there in all formatting options available on columns. So here, this is a very big number about total agent talk time second, right? I'll just multiply this by 1 by 3. Just sorry, yeah, just hold on. That's a fix. This makes it easier to read. Okay, so I've made 3 reports, all in the tutorial collection. Total agent talk time and daily call volume and campaign wise distribution. I'll create a dashboard quickly. We call that call summary dashboard. The dashboard is empty. I have many options here. I might be not able to cover today, but I'll cover the basic ones. So I'll start with maybe daily call volume, then add campaign wise distribution also, and then total agent talk some seconds. Okay. Now it provides a nice drag and drop UI, which is actually very fluid. It automatically adjusts and all. Metabase for people in design, a lot of good inspirations on design. I mean, how you can make design choices and all. I mean, it's one of the best UX experiences with respect to a BI tool. But in general, also, when we made call sense product and all, we took a lot of inspiration from Metabase. So you can see here, I have 3 graphs. I'll show you something which is important with respect to dashboards. Sometimes you make dashboards, but people have no clue what this dashboard is about, or what are the various items in this dashboard. You can add a section which is text box. So I will add a text box here, which actually supports Markdown. For those of you who are aware of Markdown, it's very easy. You can say this is a call summary dashboard. There are visualization options. I will align it in the center and middle and save. Okay, so I've made a basic report and I've saved it. So this is how it looks like right now. All right, so I'll show you now. This dashboard is useless as it is. I mean, it is just telling you some numbers. I would want people to be able to apply filters, create breakouts and all that. So there is edit option where you can edit a dashboard, and then you can start with just change this. Filter section, add a filter section. Okay. Now let's say I start with time-based filter. I usually like relative dates. If you want, there are many other options also. All other options are also available. time filters you can customize very well in Starship. I mean, compared to Kibana, it gives you very good capabilities. Now it automatically selects also when you say relative date, it automatically selects key what are the fields where you can apply date filters on. And I can change this to, I can name this column fall date. Okay. Click on done. Then I click on save. So this, then I can actually select yesterday. Usually I don't recommend dashboards having a lot of questions together. So we have configured that when you cannot, unlike when you write queries in Kibana, your Elastic server goes down and stuff like that. You cannot break what is going behind Sasha because we have limited. If you are running a query which takes more than specified amount of resources, that query will fail instead of failing. So there is, we have put a limit key. You can run, I think 8 user queries per simultaneously, right? You can run 8 queries simultaneously. Above that, it will get in a queue and you will probably find your dashboard 8 queries and then the next 8, so forth. So a good practice is if you have more than 8 queries, you keep the ones which are most relevant on the top and least relevant in the bottom. Okay, so that you don't see the user experience getting hampered. I'll make this last 7 days so that the graph looks better. Meanwhile, I'll show you one more thing. This is about, I spoke about date filters. Okay, there are lots of linking functionalities which you get in dashboards. So let's add a category filter also on, let's say. So this, you can select what kind of filter you want here. I'm choosing a drop down and I'm choosing from here, I'll select campaign name. Okay, let's say I want to do it only on campaign wise. It shows me all the categories which are there by default. I'll call this campaign name. Okay. Now I'll show you one thing. In campaign name for categories, it's not available for all the filter types. There is something called linked filters. For example, so I have 2 things here. Let me add one more, which is mode of calling. Or process name is a good example. Process. So if you know the hierarchy, the way it is, key one campaign has certain processes, right? And all processes are not shared across all campaigns. So you would want something like when you select RM sales, you would only want to the user to filter on processes which are corresponding to RM sales and nothing else. This is a little expensive, but you can do linked filters, like limit the choices. So to campaign, all this process. Then I come here on campaign name. And I have a linked filter where I say keep process name. Process name, it says here, if you toggle in one of these dashboard filters, selecting a value for that filter will limit the available choices for this filter. It should be the other way actually. Okay, once I do this, when I select a campaign name, it will be only showing the process names which are relevant to that campaign name. So for very big reports and all, actually Metabase will create that subset. So I would recommend you use it only when you require it. Okay, let me show you one more thing after. Let me remove that linked filter for now. Yeah, anyway, it worked. So there is something called, so I have filters here. I can use those filters now. There is a refresh dashboard also, which is a standard option, which is present in all the dashboards where you can refresh your dashboards at a periodic interval. Sharing is there, which I'll come to at the end. And info about the dashboard, bookmarking is there. Duplicating, enter full screen, vagara is there. I think they have dark mode also now, right? See. Yeah. So this will come in very handy when you are doing publishing. I mean, I'll show you one report. I'll talk about that in integration anyways, but you can have your products where dashboards are. So this is a product called CallSense where it's like a complete call center analytics software. So you have a dashboard which is created on Starship, but it doesn't look like Starship. I mean, if I can actually change the color like a part of the product itself. You can embed which are secure within a product. let's say Uniview, you want to have an overall lead summary dashboard, which you can embed on the home page. Okay, you typically, if you have seen Razorpay dashboards and all, right? So you will see a dashboard like this in the home page. They are using Looker, Looker ka interface. You'll be able to create much better dashboards than Looker with Metabase. Okay. Coming back to our dashboard. So I want to show something like click actions also. Like you want to link certain things on the dashboard using certain stuff. One very good use case is, let's say this is all put any campaigns or anything. Home maintenance, I can see key to 8%, 5% of the calls happen here. Now I want to see for this home maintenance, what are the number of hours, what is the daily call volume, etc. Okay, it's like linking two different sections in the report. So you can actually, if you see here, every report has customization options also. Like you can change the visualization option the way you changed in the original report section, like count, volume, and all that here also. Similarly, here you have visualization options and a click behavior. So when you click on click behavior, you can have multiple things. Open start specs menu is the default one. Go to a custom destination is also possible, which I'm not going to talk about right now, but you can imagine what happens here. You have a saved question and you want to pass that home service filter to some other questions, which is there. Is that clear, or you want me to show that? You have a question where you have a filter called campaign name, and you can pass this. I will show you. When I select this, I will have to select a question. Probably choose one from tutorial only. So in this, I can actually say when I click on campaign name, you take this to pass the filter called campaign name to that question. Okay. This is one way you can go to a dashboard or a question. Something which is better than that is something which I will show you right now. Update dashboard filter. Custom destination is useful in Uniview in a lot of places. I think you are using in Uniview where you want to take the, let's say you are on some servicing report or some sales report and you want to see the services corresponding to that agent in some other report. You click on that report and go there. I think you have a feature like that, correct? So that's custom destination is easy to explain, but update dashboard filter is actually something very nice. When you click on campaign name, then it updates the campaign name filter on the dashboard. Okay, selected that. I'll show you in demo also. I click on save. Now home maintenance, I have, sorry, RM sales, for example. I click on this, it automatically, you can see here, it has automatically put RM sales filter there. Okay, I can see the total number of calls in RM sales and all that. Okay, actually it's possible to pass variables to this also, where I can update the value in this summary based on campaign, based on the variables in this particular dashboard. Okay, so that's about the click behavior on dashboard. There are certain other things also which I can show you. This is also an experimental feature. On line graphs, you have something called add series. Okay, in add series, I'm not sure if anybody has used it so far. This I will recommend. I will not recommend, it's experimental also. What you can do is, if I click on this, actually the page hangs. I'll show you. Here, along with the line graph, let's say the number of calls. You want to track, for example, another series called revenue, or let's say you want a number of leads, right? Then you can add two series in the same graph. For that, Metabase tries to show you all the series graphs which are available, which matches with this. Okay, so that's why it's very slow also. And if you try to add that, it actually messes up. So maybe if they make this feature better and more stable in future releases, you can use that. Okay, like cleaning leads by PMRL. Let's say it's a series which you want to add this to and compare both of them. You can just select this and done. They can compare both these together. Okay. I hope see. This is what I was talking about. I'll talk about one more thing, two things actually, and I'll wrap it up. One is about dashboard subscriptions, which is very easy. I mean, we have full dashboards like this, which we have created in Hood, for example, which is driving the entire Hood stats email. I mean, like we have no broker stats email, we have Hood stats email, which tells you what are the overall summary statistics in Hood happening, which is driven by dashboard subscriptions. Like in dashboard subscriptions, you're essentially doing nothing but you create a dashboard and then you're subscribing it to it on email or Slack. Okay, you can schedule it also at what time you want. You can apply filters. For example, you have a monthly stats email, you have a weekly stats email, you have the daily stats email. You can create 3 different subscriptions for that dashboard with 3 different set of filters. And let's say you want different stats email to go to different set of users. You can put, for example, sales team, you want dashboard, servicing team, another dashboard. You can put probably a campaign process filter also there. Don't send if there are results. Attached results option is also there, where the subscription will contain attached CSV files also. Okay, and then you can enter the usernames as well. Same thing you can do with Slack also. So like I said, Slack is linked to our workspace, so you can pick a channel and you can test it. Like for example, I can send Slack now. This will go to general and I'm not doing it. Okay, let me show it to you quickly. Sorry, send Slack now. It will test. Okay, it's sending. Let's hope it comes now. Yeah, sent. And it has come. See here. I have notification disabled, but you see here the alert comes. It is not very well formatted and all. All right. So, and that's about subscriptions. And then there's something called publishing also. So I can embed this in an application like I showed you on CallSense, where you actually get this I'll speak about in integration section tomorrow. This might take a while. So, but that's it, guys. So that's it about dashboards also. And that's what I wanted to cover today. It has taken more time than I expected, but I hope this was valuable. All right. Any questions quickly? Hello. We'll see you tomorrow then. Thank you.